The living room, where the family meets to discuss issues, any issue which may be bothering one of the family members. That's what we do each and every Tuesday on WAC 90.1 FM with Ricardo Mitchell and DJ Aaron 868. We have casual conversations on serious topics, from sports to culture, mental health to economics, relationships to life lessons. Join us each and every Tuesday on WAC 90.1 FM. The Living Room, casual conversations on serious topics.
It is now 6 p.m. here in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know what time it is where you are, but I'm glad to know you're locked on to the True Nation station, WACK 90.1 FM, where we are.
Culture crazy.
First and foremost, let's kick this off as we always do. All right? Must give thanks and praises to the Almighty for granting us the gift of life and seeing another day. No matter what time of day it is, you must always
give thanks.
Secondly, we must say thank you to those that went before us, and we are not just talking about our ancestors, the original inhabitants of Trinidad and Tobago, because we all know, accept, reiterate, and say it with the chest that Columbus lied, but also to our brother in music, Tony Prescott, where the P this week stands for.
Plethora, Aaron, plethora. The P could stand for Passad Bisessa. The P could stand for promises. The P could stand for Poland.
The P could stand for Prime Minister-elect.
For Prime Minister-elect. The P could stand for Paps. I know it have one thing the P don't stand for this morning.
Right, for those of you who may be living under a rock, Trinidad and Tobago would have gone to the polls yesterday, which was Monday, the 28th of April. And we are still waiting on the official statistics from the EBC with regard to the voter turnout. A turnout which I personally suspect was a low one.
Right.
Lower than 2020, I suspect. But our populace, who decided to dip their fingers in the electoral ink yesterday, and those of us who did not decide to eat a roti after to ingest said ink.
It was not me. It was not me. I was not eating any curry yesterday. No handheld food. Because this ink was this ink been on things.
Right, but our populace, who decided to cast their votes yesterday, made a decision that they wanted change, and now the United National Congress is the ruling party. We recorded this early on Tuesday, so all official statistics have not been released. But as it stands now, as at 9:42 a.m., it is 27 to the UNC, 12. It's 27, 12 2?
I believe so.
Yeah, 27, 12 2. PNM, UNC, TPP, respectively. Right? So we await the signing in of our Prime Minister-elect, the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisessa, SC, and the new Attorney General, who will be the first members of the new cabinet to be sworn in later today. And then we await to see the rest of the slate to be sworn into the various ministerial roles.
Yeah, even curiously enough, we won't know until tomorrow, please God, who the opposition leader is going to be.
Correct.
Right. We are in a...
That's a real interesting one, huh?
This has been a very interesting 24
precarious.
Well, I believe we're in a precarious position prior. What I will say, two things.
Alliteration.
As a whole alliterative guy, I could have come up with something a little more alliterative than that. What I can say,
you can't alliterate on a vowel.
You can't alliterate on a vowel?
It's not called alliteration if it's a vowel.
Really? Well, that is interesting. I appreciate that. I'm going to look that up because I like words. I like language. So what I can say, the P this week is not for PNM. The P this week is not for Patriotic Front. The P this week is not for a lot of things. Again, congratulations to the Prime Minister-elect. Was that prophetic? Is Prime Minister-elect, the Honorable Kamal Prasad Bisesa SC. I also want to salute the country. I want to salute those of you who went out to vote. I actually, in a move unlike any that I've made before, I want to respectfully acknowledge those of you who voiced your discontent by not voting. Now, normally, I do not encourage abstaining. However, I do recognize that if, as a citizen, you felt as if you were not presented with a viable option and you chose to not choose I could have done better than that. Anyway, but you opted to not vote for what was presented to you, then I challenge you, do not let your silence be the end of your course of action / inaction. If you are not interested in those presented, well then find those you will be interested in and encourage them to present themselves. Perhaps involve yourself in a party and present yourself.
And I'll go and say that part too, yeah.
Right, based on the numbers that we going to get later, and I'm pretty certain that our esteemed colleagues at WAC 90.1 FM will thoroughly
Speak Out is going to be so interesting today.
Right?
Well, would have been interesting.
And I believe it's going to be interesting for a little while yet. Right? And I know Desmond and Tony P also going to throw their hats into the ring and pass ball accordingly. Right? I am saying that this is probably one of those situations where people decided I might not vote against my party, but that don't mean that I could vote for them either. Right? Low voter turnout does not necessarily mean we have an irresponsible citizenry. It might mean that people opted to say, I am not satisfied with what is presented. And if you're not satisfied with what is presented, well then do something about it.
And you know, shockingly enough, yesterday when I entered my polling station, just to say I had no issues voting.
Wait, you vote?
Yeah, brother man.
Which, were you clean that with? Because watch my finger. Watch my finger. To what Aaron don't do. Oh, okay, all right. You're lucky to have a little N under the nail there. I know what to say, but what kind of TV thing is this? And I would write a letter of complaint, but
brother man, bleach is your best friend. To wipe your finger, not to drink.
Bleach. Anyway, let me mind my business and let you finish what you're saying. This is me actively listening.
For me personally, I had no issues voting, but what I was shocked about was the fact that when I got my ballot, there were 6 different candidates on my ballot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, likewise. Was mine 6? Right? Yeah, 6.
Yeah, I think we're in the same constituency, you know.
Yeah. But living so far apart, huh? But anyway, actively listening.
Right? And I do totally understand the persons who would have chosen not to exercise their civic duty because of because they perceived a lack of proper representation. Mm-hmm. Or lack of proper options for representation. Right? When I looked at some of the names that were on my ballot, I think only 2 were actually living in the constituency.
I'm glad you brought that up, Aaron.
So first and foremost, I think there needs to be something passed where the persons who are presenting themselves for office within a particular constituency need to reside there.
That is interesting.
The first of my reasons is a petty one.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't go up for constituency and not live there.
And not have the problems.
You don't have the problems, right? The second is, Dan, how you could go up for a seat in a constituency and get 0 votes? Essentially, you didn't vote for you. But then again, how you could vote for you if you're not living there?
Right.
So, as I say, it's a kind of petty reason, but it does have a level of substance to it, because I think the person who's representing my area should be living there to understand the problems that the persons are putting forward to them to fix. It may not be the same problems because some areas are vast. Let's call a spade, let's look at how huge the Mayaro seat is compared to how small the San Fernando East or West area may be. Right? Or even Port of Spain, the North, the South, all these different things. But I think you need to reside in the area. That's, for me, one of the things. And I didn't come here really today, for me personally, not Ricardo, and these are not the views of Ricardo, Wack, or anybody else. These are my views. I didn't come here just to talk about the campaign. I come to talk about some of the things I want to experience within the next 5 years. Because just how we in the living room have been speaking and saying that we need to hold our political parties accountable, I let you know the basis on my accountability from day one.
I understand what you're saying. I disagree with it for a couple of reasons, some of which trivial, some of which
Let me hear this. Let me hear the fundamental first. I'm interested to hear the fundamental more than the trivial for once.
I believe that proximity to a problem does not always equate to the experience to solve it. All right? Sometimes you need somebody who is viewing a situation from an external perspective to see what the entirety of it might be, or to see what else is available. Now imagine being asked to run a company, and the only experience that you have with the entire industry is what you know about that company. You don't know what best practices are. You have nothing to compare it with. All I'm saying is that if I am from, as you use Mayaro, right? I live in Mayaro, I understand Mayaro problems, I'm going to work in Mayaro. Then I don't have any of the experiences of somebody coming into or out of Mayaro on a daily because I'm within Mayaro.
I understand your point. However, if I am in Mayaro, living there, born and grow, working there, I don't commute out of Mayaro. This is where now some of the systems which are in place should be able to help. Because let's say, for example, under the OPR system, where you have to get contractors that are OPR registered and they have to go through due process, and it's not always the price is the deciding factor. There are a lot of technical aspects as well. Then the contractor who may be selected to fix a problem that you know about Mayaro could come from Port of Spain. So they are bringing in their expertise on the area, as we like to say, the SMEs, the subject matter experts, who may not be from the constituency. But you live in there, you know the problems. And because you are knowing and experiencing the problems, you may have a particular proclivity to fix faster.
Might be as desensitized to the problem as everybody else and just accept things for being what they are. That's how we is.
But
you see,
go ahead.
Can I?
You go fix now.
You sure?
Fix like the pothole on Marwell main road.
I mean, don't fix it then.
Patchy.
Alright. So what I'm saying, Mr. Williams, right, is that if I am cultured to something, it is much harder to change it.
Right.
It is much harder to address it. Right? Similarly, Now I can recognize that if I am from a community where I don't know that things can be done differently, what I'm saying is, right, you know what, forget all the philosophical aspects of it, right? We only have an hour to talk. How long we have again? What time we start? I know you'd say something about 9:42 earlier.
Yeah, so 9:30, 9:36.
All right, let me call it 9:36. So we only have, give or take, about 30 or 40 minutes again. No, that's terrible maths. We will have about 40 or 45 minutes again. Moving on. If I in a position to address a problem, right? We forgetting the philosophical aspect of it, and we're just looking at the practicality and the logistics of it. We forget the high talk now. We talk plain talk. You telling me, right? I have to move back to my constituency to serve it. Now, here the catch for that, If I have to move back to my constituency to serve it, on whose dime is my residence going to be built? Do I have to now repurchase? Let's say I moved out of the community, decided that this whatever contribution I've made in terms of career or to country that I want to do, I'm going to politics now. You tell me I have to move back to the constituency to adequately serve it? Or are you going to provide me with somewhere to live while I'm serving my term within the community so that I might serve it from within the community? Answer me that.
I know you don't like to do this, but I'm going to answer a question with a question.
No, I love answering questions with questions. I might like, chuck you for doing it. But I love it. That is how we have exploratory conversation. But go ahead.
Remember the conversation we had with Nikolai Edwards?
Was that the question?
No, I'm prefacing here.
So you're answering the question with two questions?
No, I'm prefacing before I give you the question.
So the preface is a separate thing to the question. Anyway, go ahead, sir. Yes, I remember the question. I remember the conversation with Nikolai Edwards.
Where he explained to us that there are three tiers to government.
Mm-hmm.
Local, central, exec, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring it back down to local since we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Should the mayor of San Fernando not live in San Fernando?
I think it's best, yes.
So then why the electoral candidate for San Fernando West is allowed to live outside of San Fernando?
Which one bigger? No, bear with me here. No. That is the answer. Yeah, the catch, right?
No, and
San Fernando is made up. The mayor of San Fernando, right, is the mayor of an area that is of more than one constituency.
No, and that's my thing. That's another one I genuinely don't know. If San Fernando East and San Fernando West, what comprises that on the map, is what comprises the city of San Fernando. For the Burgess,
you see, again, a question is a dangerous thing, right? Because now you're looking to presume to answer a question from a thing that you don't know about.
Yeah.
Right? If the mayor, who is Marabella part of San Fernando?
Yes.
So that means the mayor of San Fernando is the mayor of Marabella?
Yes, he governs the council.
Right.
Yeah.
Should I demand that he be from Marabella or live in Marabella? Right? No, because it have Pleasantville to see about, which is San Fernando East. Right? It have Gulfview. Is the mayor of San Fernando the mayor of Gulfview?
Well, and I see that, so you understand my line of questioning.
Right.
Because
but you're literally asking me to compare chalk and cheese, though.
No, but I'm not asking for chalk and cheese.
A mayor is not an elected representative.
Brother man, there we do. Don't start that one. That's a whole next thing which I have an issue with.
You ever vote for your mayor?
That you didn't hear what I just said?
But you bring it up.
But
ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Philip, if you're listening, right? Mr. Phillips, I want you to understand something here. Aaron is setting me up, Aaron is setting me up. Aaron say that the people who represent in the area should live in the area. I asked him if it mean he had to move back to the area to represent it. He bring up mayor thing and then saying he don't want to bring up mayor thing. This man is setting me up.
But man, again, you setting yourself up because you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm feeling like I'm talking to Kenny here.
Thank you. Thank you
Not
very
in a
much.
good way. Not in a good way.
It have a good way. Anyway,
Anyhow,
yes,
but what I'm saying is, in terms of not voting for your mayor, it kind of echoes the same principle of not voting for your prime minister. Because the mayor is elected from who wins the most seats within your burgess. So like San Fernando, I think there are 9 areas, municipalities. And then from the winner of the 9 municipalities, whoever wins more, they elect a leader there.
Okay.
Similar to the national elections, the general elections, where we don't vote for the prime minister that is now the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar. We vote for a respective candidate within a constituency, and then whoever is the leader of that party then takes that office.
That led to some of the challenges that people faced yesterday when they've been told to vote for a party and could not identify who the representatives of that party for the area would have been. No, it's an interesting system we have here. I don't know if they decide it's better to put the names big and leave less writing on the paper so that it is as uncomplicated as possible. We do have to recognize that there are people who would not be literate and might be looking for a symbol by which to vote, etc. The electoral process is can be a very complicated and nuanced one.
And I'm going to say,
I will admit, I've voted before where I've opened this paper and there's only 2 to choose from, and I've opened this paper and seen 6. So I could understand if any moment you get, but what is all this?
I was adequately whelmed.
Yeah. I was appropriately whelmed.
And why I say I was appropriately whelmed is because I as a man like to read, right?
Yeah. Have a read and finish.
And I read
Franklin.
3 of the 4 main manifestos which were presented to me. As a matter of fact, I read 2 and then half.
Right.
But I can't add the 2 halves together. So 2 and half.
Somebody called it manifestos last night.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
I thought it was brilliant actually, but go ahead.
Yeah, it actually is, right? And then there were the other 2 names on my ballot, and I was like, who's them, right?
Yeah.
This morning, my aunt was telling me that despite how much we are pushing for the emergence of a viable third option, to an extent, it stands that our current climate can only accommodate 2 options.
Strongly disagree.
I did disagree with it. Thanks for answering before I said it.
I remember it's a whole preemptive thinker, Aaron.
The amount of things you is.
Hey, I might be the next minister of everything. Oh, you see what I did there? Aaron, what you tell me? You wouldn't go. All right, so let me let you finish. Go ahead. If you can even remember what it was.
I really can't remember, honestly. But what the end point, I had a bit of a story to go with it, but the end point for me is 2025's election prove that there is the ability for a viable third option.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, head across to the Sister Isle.
Right. There's also something else that I noticed. Looking at some of the preliminary figures, because preliminary figures are all that we, as of 10 a.m. the morning after, we still can't find anything concrete, and the reports coming in are varying. Right. I've noticed that while there was overwhelming dominance, right? So much so that some third party leaders were saying, yeah, them good. Trinidad are ready, Trinidad are interested, and they will continue to serve the country in any other way. A man even went so far as to say that if Obama started a third party in the country, he might get jailed. Right? Yeah. There was another leader who went on to say that win, lose, or draw, she is here to stay. She is here to build something. And I want to point out that while there was some jamming, there was jamming, right? There were areas where there was 0 votes and that type of thing. There were areas where there were hundreds. And when you look at some of the numbers, you might see a 2% or 3%. And I'm thinking, 2 or 3%, 2 or 3% might not look impressive. But think about it this way. If 2 or 3% of the population were to get sick, they would shut the country down.
RE COVID.
Right? If 2 or 3% of the country, if you get 3% of a vote, it means 3 out of the 100 people that showed up to vote believe in what it is you were doing.
And I'm glad, again, this goes back to the conversation we had about the probabilities a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a constituency, let's say they had 30,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
I just call it a random figure here because it's going to be maths, so we had to break it down easily.
Yeah, break it down.
30,000 people. Of that 30,000, only 30% show up to vote.
Right.
So that is 9,000 people come and vote.
Mm-hmm.
Of that 9,000, one person get 5,000, let's say 6,000.
Mm-hmm.
The next one get 2,500, and you get 500.
Mm-hmm.
You see how the numbers are there?
Yeah.
Next election now, if you are consistent, your 500 could multiply.
And let me show you the maths behind this. Not even the maths. Let me show you the sociology behind this. The people who came out to vote for their parties, right, came out and voted. The people who were upset or didn't believe that the vote would make a difference didn't come out. Now imagine if 500 people showed up and voted for a party, knowing that it wasn't going to win, right, but voted anyway. The people who wanted to vote for that party and thought it didn't make a difference didn't show up. The people who know where they were voting showed up and voted.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How much more of those people could show up and vote for their party? There's a very, very interesting thing here. If you think your vote is not going to make a difference, you're not going to bother. If you think it is going to make a difference, you're going to do it. Right? Some of the reasons that PNM lost some of the seats that they lost is because people thought, well, we either have it in the bag, so it makes sense voting, or we don't have it in the bag, so it makes sense voting.
There's a third option.
Or was the third one?
Or I fed up of them, and I don't want to go and
but
vote
I don't
for
want
the
to vote for
alternative.
somebody else. Right. So the possibilities exist that yes, there are numbers that can go up, but it also says that for me, the third party viability, it also says that there is a percentage of people that believe in what it is you're doing. And if they believe that the vote would make a difference, they might come out and vote.
But you see, my thing about it is, because of how the finances go, and we always say you had to call a spade a spade.
Mm-hmm.
How financially feasible is it to continue to be a third option with a lack of financial backing?
Oy. Aaron, we
No.
have to believe. Go ahead.
No,
Sorry, that was an actual question versus
No,
rhetorical.
it actually, that was actually rhetorical because remember, I don't think persons take stock. There is a deposit that candidates have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if for 10 years, 2 elections, you pay a deposit and you lose, that level of motivation, as human as it is, it will drop. So is it that you are going now to say, here we're going back for a third election?
Then let me tell you something. The deposit is a drop in the bucket of what it costs to run to run a campaign. Right? So losing the deposit is no big deal. Right? If you're losing the deposit is no big deal. Right? What you put into running a campaign, here the catcher. We campaign, and campaigns cost. Right? You have to advertise, you have to stimulate, you have to drive wrong, you have to get the people to move.
And that is what the other options did not have. Because the leader of one of the options said last night in an interview that, yes, we had meetings, but we didn't have the ability to broadcast those meetings.
Right. So the people who are interested do have access to what it is they might be saying.
No. To get access, you had to go.
Right.
And how you'll know about it if I still don't have money to broadcast it?
Right. So this is the thing. Imagine
the apple and the chicken and the egg.
Absent the resources to do what the others did, you still
get 500.
You still get 500. Right? It have lies, damn lies, and statistics. Right? Marketing is about reading the figures in such a manner that it could tell the story that you need to. I detest marketing for that. Marketing is one of the most deceptive things that I have out here. And I loathe the marketing aspect of it because it is by nature manipulative, as is advertising, as is public relations, as is any form of communication. The whole point of communication is to get a message across. And so depending on what message you want to get across, things going to be manipulative. I want to acknowledge that there are people who use these powers for good. So I'm going to say this in big. I am very proud of what Michaela Pandey attempted to do and is attempting to do. I am very proud of what Gary Griffith is attempted to do because I think he get enough jamming at him. I don't know if he'll be back in this dance in this capacity again. I am very proud of the independents. I am very proud of some of the parties that came up and said, listen.
But Cardo, that's the same thing I now ask here.
What?
How you just said you're not sure if Gary Griffith will be coming back because he get the jamming in that capacity.
Right. I needed to understand, Aaron, not because you burn food mean you stop cooking. It has some people will be like they're not going through that again, and other people gonna try again. The success is not the result of talent. Success is not the result of just resource. Success is the result of presence. Nobody wins by dropping out.
And I know one say that.
The winners are the people who keep going until everybody else drops out. Do they have what it takes to keep going? Resources matter. Yes, resources do matter. But there are enough examples throughout human history of people who, absent resource, just kept at it. Now, I could say that because me ain't put no money out to rent no truck and put up no billboard and thing, right? But I can tell you, it has to be encouraging to the disenfranchised 17 to 25-year-old to see that there were people within their age bracket who were viable candidates, even if they didn't know nothing about them. The mother and the father tell them don't vote for them, etc. What them gonna do for me because I see them on the taxi stand. At the end of the day though, the seeds have to be planted that this could be you. We have leadership, Mr. Williams, that older than the country. What's up?
I put up my hand to make a comment. See.
Oh, yeah. I thought it looked like you'd go to take a pledge of allegiance there.
No. Before we just remind me about that pledge thing later on in the show. Right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have about 25 minutes.
Oh, yeah, time still, man. I'd rather talk so fast. All right, go ahead.
Right? Or probably 20. What I was gonna say is one of the things which continues to amuse me, and as I was expressing with a partner of mine last night in Sweat, that as we have said on the living room on numerous occasions, we can't have leaders preparing us for a future that they are going to be sitting in their rocking chairs. and looking back and saying, me not had to worry about that because they are no longer the class within the system that has to produce. They are no longer on the hustle. They are no longer on the grind. They are no longer the working class that has to sit and say, wait, boy, NIS gone up and I get less money in my pocket or anything like that because they pay in class Z. If they pay in NIS at all. Sorry. We continue to say, as a population, we wanted change. And that we got. However, what I am looking forward to, or what I am going to look for, is the fact that we can't go through another period where we just go in and be stopping projects because that is what the last party was doing.
Yeah, boy.
We cannot go through another period where we're stopping programs. And this one genuinely hurt me last night. Foster Cummins, who had done excellent work with the Ministry of Youth, was not selected as a member of Parliament. And as such, now the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service will be in new hands.
Yeah.
If it even remains that ministry.
Curious though, there might be more continuity to that ministry than you think. Because if I'm not mistaken, isn't the gentleman who won a former employee of Foster Cummins?
I'm not too sure.
Wasn't he the gentleman who crossed the floor and was given the seat?
Can't remember.
Or am I confusing things?
You might be, but you can check and tell me by the time I finish my statements. Right? But the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, and notice I said, Gado, if it remains by that name,
right,
continues the programs. The Ministry of Housing had a lot of programs that were targeted to low to middle income families. I hope those programs continue and they are not shelved and the funds are reallocated to other projects. And then should the government change in 5 years' time, then they go in and reallocate again to other projects. This is where I think, and I hope, and I dare even to say I pray that this government, this incoming government, takes a moment and regularizes, but regularizes the ministries so that if we have 18 ministries, I just call it a number, if we have 18 ministries, that remains the 18 ministries we have. And then some of those ministries remain totally independent of government.
Oh, so
for example, the ministry.
No, I said it's not like type of thing that, somebody who present themselves for selection might be able to champion and implement.
You never know, right? But like ministries like the Ministry of Planning, for example, is a ministry I think should be independent of the government.
Yeah, because not independent of the government, but should supersede government
change. Yeah. Because like call a spade. One of the things that I heard the Honorable Prime Minister-elect said last night was the ceasing of the waterfront rebuild in San Fernando. Something of which I'm 100% sure mobilization money was paid for already. So then my mobilization tax-paying dollars just jumping up all willy-nilly. As a populace, those are the things that cost us. And then we wonder why we have no money. And as we did before, let me don't talk in the theoreticals and the philosophicals. Let me bring it back down to the grassroots level here. You're doing renovation work in your house. You hire a tile man. He say, boy, the work costing $10,000, but you had to pay me $5,000 to be able to first go and buy the material.
Right.
You, Cardo, after you pay that $5,000, you go and look to change your tile man or stop the project?
No, that tile man had to come and put on the work.
Exactly. So why is it that we as a populace feel comfortable to allow the government in, government out, to stop a project? Levy put pressure for projects to continue. Because when projects continue, you know what I mean?
Everybody wins?
No. Again, that was a real catchy one. When projects continue, jobs are created. When jobs are created, money flows in the country.
So, wild thing, Aaron. We as a people have great ideas, and a lot of the times the political machinery is so big that for a small idea to get in, somebody had to work it. When I suggested that there would be more continuity than you would believe, because the gentleman who did beat Foster Cummings, it's Philip Watts.
Okay, he was within the ministry.
Yes, he was within the ministry. So when you really look at it, it might be I am postulating here. It might be a case we know a lot of the times that the people who actually execute are not always as celebrated as they could be. If the man, let me look at that particular change in seats. Clearly, the people of Lauketa Talparo, clearly they knew and liked and chose Philip Watts.
Right.
Even though he crossed the floor from PNM under that ministry. Right? So there might be some continuity, because that is the gentleman that was working on one side within the ministry, came to the other side and took the seat from the man that he used to work for.
Point taken.
Right? So maybe they start signaling that there are some things that might be more important or might actually survive the, I want to say the sweep, but I don't know.
No, I would almost call it a sweep. They do have a 2/3 majority.
And that's our next thing too. Now with a 2/3 special majority, are we going to see things like constitutional reform? There are things, people don't understand the dangers of having no opposition or a minority. When I mean a minority, as in an opposition that regardless of how many votes they vote,
it doesn't matter.
It don't matter. Right? When you have 2/3 special majority, it had things that could run out constitutionally. That, like it or not, that the law. Again, it's Trinidad and Tobago, so what you might get is the actual execution and implementation of said law proven to be less of a fluid process than one would hope. But I do want to just acknowledge the message you sent me, Aaron, where you sent me the definition. Look, you know, I get about I have 8 shots since you messaged me this picture here. Assonance. Assonance involves the repetition of only vowel sound. So alliteration is consonants and assonance is, right? One of the things is that
when the important, that's what's happening.
Well, you just don't know how to manage your boundaries. So I just want to say that every event evokes emotional experiences. That would be assonance. So every event evokes emotional experiences. Yeah. So we have alliteration and we have assonance. We learned something today, people. In case you're wondering what it is these two young fellas talking about, there are so many. I think we're probably going to be dissecting this for a little while going forward in varying ways. We're not going to overwhelm and bore all the way the thing. And a lot of people are going to be having political conversation, or they'll just be so fed up that they switch back. I do want to point out that this is something that very few, if anybody, predicted was going to happen like this. A lot of people thought it would have been a tighter race. A lot of people on both sides thought they had it in the bag. A lot of people on both sides thought that, we are looking like we're winning this one, right? This is definitely upsetting the apple cart, or let me say the orange cat, or the mango cat. You don't really grow no big set of apple and thing down here. right? Things are going to be different. How different, we will see going forward. Congratulations to all those who sought to put service over self. Thank you for all of those who put themselves on the front line. May the good Lord judge those of you who chose to attempt to pervert our systems. I'm not saying that lightly. May the good Lord judge those who attempted to pervert or successfully perverted our electoral systems. I'm saying that in caps, underlined, and I'm moving on. But for those of you who chose to utilize the nation's systems and structures to attempt to move this country forward and in a better direction, God bless you. Don't feel ashamed. To answer Aaron's earlier question, one of the reasons I'm okay with people living outside of the constituency is because you could imagine Ricardo Mitchell, go up for San Fernando West. In San Fernando West. And the only vote I get is mine? So, if I'm living outside the constituency, I could always... You sure?
I'm voting for you.
Okay.
Actually, so no.
You might be going up too.
No. As it stands, within the next election, I will be voting in Orange East.
Right. So you can't even vote for me.
Man, my father told me it's about time.
You're gonna do the thing.
Yeah, He tell me due to events which are taking place later this year. It's about time you're properly. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to point out something that, as Trini, you all know, nobody usually complain about it, but half are we not living where we voted. Right? Let me be real. My constituency marginal. It has your constituency. You don't live there. They don't do that there. Right? You're from there. You just still get mail there, but you're not living there. Right? Well, imagine when you're going to vote, it's the first time you're seeing half of your neighbors in 5 years. Let me be real. That's all of us. Everybody out here. But hopefully, with the way things are advancing, we could more easily change addresses and stuff without having to go through all of these.
I'm actually anxiously awaiting to renew my driver's permit.
Right.
Digitally.
Right. You see what I said?
Yeah.
Let me be real.
If only they could do that for passport. Oh my gosh, we win.
Things changing, and there's the point I want to make here. We need to recognize the importance of, and I'm saying this deliberately, we have to encourage youth and the younger politicians. The time for give key, look, the laws to deposit, nobody vote for them, or we need to acknowledge that the current leaders are concerned or not concerned about their pensions. The current leaders should be thinking, how much of my pension is going to be paid in crypto or digitally? How much of my pension will I be able to access from my digital wallet or bank account while I'm on a cruise ship or in another country?
But man, you think them no bother?
This is why I'm saying the current leadership should be people who have those concerns, because this is our reality, right? Aaron, in our late 30s, early 40s, right? In our age, Aaron, by the time we're eligible for a pension, Aaron, it mightn't have cash. So imagine right now, you will have money in your bank account that you cannot even access from another country unless you put that money in a credit card. If the credit card accepted in that country based on whatever you dig what I'm saying? When I'm supposed to be able to access the money in my account with my phone, beep.
You know as you think, last year when I went to Louisiana for Christmas.
Yeah.
It was one of the most financially painful times for me.
Right.
Because I know I had the money, but for me to access the money, I had to transfer it from bank to bank and bank to credit card.
Right.
Which sometimes will take 1 to 2 business days.
Right.
Depending now, and remember, it's holidays too.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see me scampering before I left to go in the bank the day, to go buy a bank to withdraw cash, to go and deposit it over the counter in our next bank, to be able to transfer to our credit card.
This is what I'm saying. We're in 2025. You could video call somebody in Australia. You could watch space. You could go on our website and watch your house from space. And you telling me it might take me 2 to 3 days plus fees to access my own money?
Nah, and that's a serious thing. Now, with the crypto thing, I still have my reservations about it.
Fine.
I'm not gonna lie. But I do understand the benefits that this cashless society can bring. And not the cashless society that Hammond Bruce sung about
right
in his Calypso. Not the cashless society. A cashless, one word.
You get man, you still missed the point, This is not about the cash, It's about the concerns.
No. Wait. Again, you just jump the gun sometimes,
Because you just drag your foot getting the point across. We only had the people attention for an hour.
Well, then let me maximize the hour.
And talk slow?
Yes.
You know what? I'm gonna talk to your godfather about this.
Who's that? Who's my godfather?
Kenny?
Kenny's
not your godfather?
Not at all.
Why does she nice so then?
Because he respects me and he loves me.
I'm gonna cut this out and send it for him. But yeah.
No, but really and truly, guys, what really needs to take place is that we need younger leaders. We need younger representation, people who understand the direction that not just the finances are heading in, but also the global climate is heading in, the geopolitics, the socio-economic movements, the psychological movements. Watch that. If I don't hear none about mental health within this next 5 years, brother man, I look into pelt down everything. I go in with what let's call this thing? I go in with some tennis balls and a Harriel tennis ball home. Because I reached to the age where I had to roll the sole on my feet constantly.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I pelt in tennis ball by MP office.
Let me explain to you why it is we need younger people. But no disrespect to those who have dedicated decades of their life to the country. All you're not concerned about 1 in 6 children in Trinidad and Tobago being born on the spectrum. All you're not concerned about that. Because you know what? You was always that kind of way. Or what I'm saying is there's a sophistication of experience that the last generation, bear with me. There's a sophistication of experience that the last generation has brought to our attention, right? Well, you think I could come out and use certain terms that we grew up hearing on the people on them radio without somebody messaging and saying that we don't talk like that anymore, you shouldn't say things like that? You know what the R word is, Aaron?
Yeah.
Right.
There are 2.
There are 2 R words?
There are 2 R words, but one of which is more frowned upon in Trinidad and Tobago than the other.
Right. Now, there is one that to decelerate, but to reduce the rate of acceleration is to retard. To retard is to actually reduce the rate of speed. To suggest that someone's speed has been diminished we don't do that here.
But you know what you can do? You can tell them that their racial persuasion is not akin to yours and you're not a fan of it. That is more acceptable in Trinidad and Tobago than the other are.
Right. So there are progresses that are being made while we still have a ways to go. But I want you to understand that just the way that we're managing social challenges, Have you heard anything about mental health in anyone's
No.
right? You hear the catch with this, right? You know how expensive it is. We had Dr. Karen Clay. We know how expensive it is to get your child tested. It's thousands of dollars. You know how many children we have suffering in the education system because they're undiagnosed with a learning disability? And you know how expensive it is to have a special needs child in primary school or early childhood care?
You know how difficult it is to have teachers' aides in schools right now?
What I'm saying is
those are the issues that I want to see addressed.
There are today's problems. There are today's problems that are going to be tomorrow's problems that today's leaders totally oblivious to because it's not their problems.
But you know what they're making sure are the problems to go in and address? Stopping our project because it's not theirs.
So, on that note, this is Ricardo Mitchell, the social stage on the global stage. Thank you for joining us in the living room. Remember, guys, the hourglass is opaque. Now, just making sure we get in case I had a cut here. Right. The hourglass is opaque. We don't know how much time remains. So whatever you're doing, be good and stay safe. Mr. Williams?
This is yours truly here on 860 to remind you each and every time that quality is my code. And now thinking about it, we did not introduce ourselves for the entire program.
They stuck around. That will put my name on the jersey.
Yeah. I tell you each and every time, culture is my code, and also tell you that love is the currency, so spend some today. Let somebody know you love them, guys. Mr. Desmond is up next with the big band. I will be back on Friday with the London. So you know what that means.
All right. Okay. All right. This is going to be interesting. So you're going to be mixing and I'm going to be on the board.
Is a mix of the soca and the kai. So
this is going to be
Friday from now. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Point 14 celebration should be taking place this weekend. If you are so inclined, please be safe on the nation's roads, and when you head down there, make wise choices.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it locked.